This is a review for test 6. Number 1, you've got fx. Oh, and the second one is supposed to be gx, not fx again. So we want to take fx and add it to function gx. And so we're taking the two functions. This just means that right here, that just means it's in terms of x. X is your input. So we don't need to worry about doing anything with x. It's just letting us know that that's the input. So we're going to take function f and add it to function g. And from here, we just simplify and combine like terms. So over here, if I distribute the 5, we've got 10x minus 5. And I want to combine like terms now. So I got 10x and minus 9x, negative 9x, which would give us 1x. So 1x is the same as x. And a positive 3 take away 5 is going to give you negative 2. So when you add those two functions together, you get x minus 2. Number 2, you got fx and gx, and again we're going to add. So when we're adding these two functions together, we can just combine like terms. So up here we have 1x squared, and down here we have 3x squared. So that gives you a total of 4x squared. On the top you got negative 3, and here combining those like terms, plus 1, negative 3 plus 1 would give you negative 2x. And the 11, positive, can go with the positive 2. 11 plus 2 would give you 13. So that is the new function when you add f and g together. This is subtracting f and g. So we would take function f and subtract function g. That means we're subtracting each of those numbers. I would do negative 15x subtract 12x, which would give you negative 27x, negative 6 subtract negative 4. It's negative 6 subtract negative 4. And that gives you negative 2. So this is what you would have if you are subtracting the two functions from each other. The next one is f of g of 2. So when g is inside of f, f is the outside function. So we write out f, leaving a space to plug in the input stuff. So f is on the outside, and the g of 2 stuff goes inside of that function. So this is what goes inside negative x, because that's our g function, plus 23. Well, in this one it also says that the x number right here we can replace with a 2. You don't have to do that first. I could distribute first and actually find the answer that way. So on this one, if I find out what this is, or I plug the 2 into function g and find out that output, negative 8 times 2 is negative 16 plus 23. Inside those parentheses, I'd end up getting 7 if I add those two together. So inside these parentheses, if I simplify all that, I end up with a 7. And now negative 3 times 7 is negative 21, plus 4 is negative 17. Fx and gx, we want to know f of 3 divided by g of 2. F of 3, so we're plugging in a 3 to the f function, and we're dividing it by the g function, plugging in a 2. So what are our outputs? Well, on top we'll have negative 9, on the bottom negative 1, and dividing those out, you get a positive 9. Number 6, here again we're just subtracting the two functions. So we're taking function f and subtracting function g. Again, I'm going to just look at this as the term subtract this term. So I have negative 2 subtract negative 1 would tell me how many x squareds there are, because those are like terms. Negative 2 take away negative 1 is negative 1. I don't have to put the 1. I could just put negative x squared. Then the 8 can be put with the 6. So I have 8 take away negative 6. 8 subtract negative 6. So that's a positive 14. And last of all, over here I don't have any number to go with that 5, but it is subtracting the positive 5x. So if you were to subtract a positive, that's the same as just putting a minus 5x. Typically this is written as negative x squared. You would put your negative 5x and then plus 14. That would be the way that you would see it written out. The next one, f composed with g of 1. This is the same as writing out, like we had on number 4, f of g of 1. It's just another way to write that out. So what we're doing is we're plugging in a 1 into the g function, and we're going to take that, plug it into the f function. So f is our outside function, whereas we're plugging in g into f, and then into g we're going to plug in a 1. So inside of this parentheses, I have negative 4 plugging in a 1 plus 11. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 plus 11 is 7. So inside of here, this simplifies to just 7. And 7 times 7 is 49. Take away 9 is just 40. Number 8. We need to, again, compose. So it's f of g of 3. So f is 3 is going to be put into g, and that whole thing is being put into f. F is our outside function, and the g function goes inside, negative 5x minus 4. And into there we're plugging in a 3. So if I do negative 5 times 3 minus 4, I get negative 19. So inside of here, this simplifies to negative 19. And then if you simplify that, 6 times that and then minus 9, you end up with negative 123 as the answer. Number 9, we're going to do G composed with F, or G of f of x. So we don't have a number to plug into f, but we are plugging f into outside function g. So g is what we put first, leaving a space to plug in f. So f's our inside function. F is what goes inside in for x. F of x is the input. We input it in. And then all we can do with this is distribute and combine like terms. So I got negative 30x plus 45 minus 4. So that's negative 30x. 45 minus 4 is 41. And that would be our answer. And last of all, for number 10, and then we get to graphs, we got J of h of x. I prefer to see it written like this. So h is our inside, plugging in, j goes outside. So I have j here. I'm going to write out j. Oh, those are parentheses. 2, I'm plugging stuff into here, plus 5. And h is what we're plugging in. H is the input. So all that plugs in to the x spot. And then we go ahead and simplify all of that. So from here, I would distribute the 2 just to the parentheses. We'd have 8x plus 2, and then plus 5. That's still in parentheses with a negative 3. And from there I could distribute the 3, or I could combine 2 and 5. Let's go ahead and distribute the 3 and then we'll combine. So negative 24x, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And now if I combine these two, I'd have negative 24x minus negative 6. Take away 15 is negative 21. Uh-oh, I wrote it wrong. Sorry. Back up, that was a negative. I didn't even write it correctly from right there. Sorry, switch this out, because I'm not getting the answer I had on my paper. So plus right there. Okay, and then when I plugged in h of x, I didn't put it in right. I put 4x plus 1, not 4x minus 1. Okay, so then negative 3 times negative 2 would give you positive 6, and if you combine those two now, it should just be negative 9. So that's our final answer on number 10. Okay, the next one, use the graph to find f of negative 1. Remember, the inside number is x, so we go to negative 1 on the x-axis. And this time, okay, we're trying to find y, so we go up and down. But this time we want the f function, so we go down until we hit the red line. On your paper, you don't have the color, but it's the straight one, right? The straight one is labeled f. So I would go down 3. So this answer is negative 3. And it says we're going to add that to g of 1. So we're going to go to 1 on the x-axis again, and we're going to do g. We're going to go to the blue line. So if we go down, we have to go down 2 to get to the blue line. because we're trying to find g of 1. So